Me, Uncle Jay, and Mob Psycho 100. Okay, so this is a very, very, very touching story that I had about, an old uncle of mine that literally was literally used to be a really good influence, but once I grew up, I realized, there's a whole lot more things in life. He used to always show me Tyler Perry films and plays and stuff like that. And he used to always say, "You see how they're talking about in the showers? This is why your dad's not here," and stuff like that. Like, he used to always talk like that. And when I grew up and I realized, dude, it's not just front facing. It's not just literally freaking, oh, deadbeat dad this, deadbeat dad that. Some dudes were desperate to bang, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that what happened to me, literally. I ended up popping a couple of kids, literally, because I was desperate to bang. You all understand? Like, literally, there's a big difference. There's a complex world out there. And once I realized that literally that's the difference between TV and real life. You see how it summed it up, like, oh, you have some similarities, and then you gotta think about it. My dad's a Dragon Ball Z fanatic and shit, so you gotta understand, like, literally, fucking, how can I hate my dad when me and him both love the same thing? And literally, freaking, a Tyler Perry film isn't going to change that. And literally, freaking, and literally, once I learned, like, fucking, he gave me stuff that I could never give my children up for. Literally, at least my dad was there from day one. Literally, freaking, I just saw my son the other day, freaking, this year, freaking, and it was crazy. I'm trying to let you know, like, it's crazy as hell. You will understand, man. Like, I think about that all the time, but I also think about, freaking, that wasn't a lot at the time because, it was my first one, so I wasn't tripping on it. I'm like, oh, okay, so once I get money, I'm gonna have more time with more opportunities. But, then I ended up being famous. I'm like, oh, alright. So, like, anyway, what happened was this, so I was preparing for the next FanMade. I went in 2018, and I got served on the dance floor only because they were doing something that I wasn't physically capable of doing. And from my knowledge in dancing, and from my knowledge in dance styles in school, that doesn't matter. If he does some b-boy out of nowhere, you still lost the battle because he did something extreme or you did something slight, sorry. But I adjusted to that, and I also thought about it. So, like, literally, I was marathoning Mob Psycho 100 just so I can get caught up to date with season 2. And while I was doing that, I was getting high, walking all the way to your park, listening to, Black Clover opening 3. Like, literally, back when anime, was just getting back, I felt really, really good. I'm like, dude, when I was watching Mob Psycho, it really made me think about the Beamer Church scheme in junior high. That shit was really, really funny. And you know how, like, Mob Psycho is like a really complex show, like how you can judge it at first. Like, I made a video back in the day where I dissed Mob Psycho, but after I watched like episode 5, after I saw the terror fight, I kept on watching it. It was pretty interesting, and literally, and then I'm like, but at the same time, it really, really, really didn't appeal to me. A con artist, I used to live with a con artist, like freaking a con artist that gets a little kid with superpowers, and I really thought it was interesting. I didn't like the plot. Like, the plot wasn't interesting to me. How it played out was interesting because it wasn't Reagan's, it wasn't just his denial as a character. What made Reagan such a good character was the fact that he was relatable even though he was in denial. And that's the one thing I love the most about Reagan, because, like, I have a side to me that's like Reagan, and my uncle, like, he acts like he's Reagan, but really I'm Reagan and stuff like that, because I fool myself, like, literally, or how much I used to dwell in my own bullshit. I know how it feels like to, like, believe in shit. I know exactly how it feels like to get lost in your own bullshit. But that's for a different reason. Like, people have me thinking that I was a mad scientist and shit like that, when they really deprived me from a whole lot, of qualities in life. Like, there's a difference, People call me a mad scientist because I went so far in my career and I did some crazy shit, and I made them flip out in fucking different ways. Like, I twisted people's minds to the way I was thinking and shit. And they're like, dude, you gotta stop in that fucking lab. You gotta get a break, this and that. And I think about it over time. That's their fault, and that's why I became a sociopath. I had a sociopath way of living. Like, I was very inconsiderate. Like, yo, I'm gonna take what I want out of the situation, get out. I'm gonna take what I want out of the situation, get out. And I made a living out of that. And that's not a really good thing you like to do. That's an exact opposite way you want to think when you're young. When you're young, you want to be fucking considerate, of other people, so you have connections like growing up, so you won't have problems like getting jobs and shit. When you treat people with respect for your young and stuff, freaking trying to, like, fall under peer pressure and stuff, fucking, like, say, like, literally, if you got a bad reputation of fucking stealing and shit, instead of actually, fucking a good reputation, fucking network with people, and shit, it's complicated, but, fucking, what made me really into instinct is that season 2 of Mob Psycho was coming up, and I didn't even like season 1 of Mob Psycho. I barely liked it. I was struggling trying to finish the season. I was watching freaking like 3 episodes a day, but one day I decided, you know what, I'm gonna watch all 3 episodes in one day. And before that, I had an adventure of my Uncle Jay and Lily. So I'm like, Sonny, you wanna go real stitch when I was marathoning Mob Psycho 100? So Lily, I was walking to the park, Lily, listening to freaking anime openings, dancing, preparing for Fanmade 2019 with new abilities and stuff like that. So before I asked my uncle to go eat, so what happened was this, I figured out that I could do a backflip, because what I did was before Crunchyroll 2018, I did my Saitama 100 series. Yes, I have a Saitama, version of me when I dance. Like, a lot of people see me freestyle dance, but Lily, when I'm in the 100, I have no problem gliding. I have no problem doing other dances I can't do. Like, I'm really stiff compared to my other shit. Like, Lily, I can jump around and shit, but I'm talking about the real shit that I was known for in high school. I can do when I'm at my 100. So like, Lily, I'm fierce on my 100. I can literally do a whole lot more, freaking I'm more flexible. Like, nothing is off balance. Literally, I have to keep myself on balance. Like, literally, if I'm not on my fucking 100, it's crazy, because what I did was I ended up training every day. And so what I did was I did 100 push-ups, 100 shove-ups, 100 jumping jacks, and like, literally, what I did was before Crunchyroll, because I didn't want to get embarrassed on the dance floor again. So what I did was I made sure it's a little more flexible when I went to a Crunchyroll dance floor, and I killed it. So I did that. So I was training for the next Fanmade, because Fanmade is a bigger con, and Fanmade always has a dance. So lately, I was really compared to, like, Lee. I ended up learning how to do a backflip in the middle of my marathon for Mob Psycho 100. It was a very good personal experience for me, and I kept on thinking about it. And the whole time where I'm trying to watch this shit, like, literally, I'm trying to finish the fucking season so I can be hyped for season 2, which I was hyped for season 2, and it was a beautiful fucking story because of literally how much I fucking trained, and I ended up figuring out how to do a backflip, literally. And you know what I learned about girls and why this is such a good video? There was this girl I nailed on Instagram named Barami and stuff like that. Like, literally, what happened was, literally, I saw a traveling girl and stuff like that, and like, see, I green eyes just like me, and see only like My Hero Academia. So I talked to her about that, and what happened was, literally, freaking, she had little to no responses. But after I did a backflip, word got out to a grapevine that I could do a backflip, and so I tried texting her, and literally, now she's texting me like, literally, with exclamation points, like, where excitement all of a sudden, because I have to do backflips. When people literally say that, literally, you have to do all out for girls, you have to be reachable, you have to deal with competition, that's some real shit. And I realized that, and once I did a backflip, the one girl that wouldn't give me obvious validation gave me more than obvious validation after I learned how to do a backflip. And this is all during my time watching Mob Psycho 100. And then all of a sudden, one of my favorite uncles, I asked out of nowhere, I'm like, hey, Sonny, do you mind if you take me to Rear Stitchel? And so literally, he's like, what? He's like, literally, okay, well, we go to a dollar store too. So he took me to the dollar store in Rear Stitchel right after. He's like, hey, you see this? This is $5. Give me one. One Baby Ruth. Literally. Literally. I want 2 of these, man. And like, don't touch that shit on the other aisle. But it was crazy because we all know how much I love Uncle Jay, and Lily doing that Mob Psycho thing. I gone through Lily so much, inner fucking, inner revelations and so much good things. Like, Lily, I was improving so much as a person, and Mob Psycho was there, and I got caught up literally around that day after, like, I learned how to do a backflip. I ended up eating, Rear Schnitzel with my Uncle Jay, and the best part about that is Rear Schnitzel comes from Lily, my grandma's home place. She's Polish, but literally freaking Chicago is where, Uncle Jay, he's like, West Side? No, he's like, South Side? We don't fuck with the West Side, they actually fuck with the South Side. But literally, fucking, that's literally, he's like, that's where your dad comes from. Your dad comes from the West Side of Chicago. No, but literally freaking that shit was crazy because really freaking I ended up like it was crazy, like literally, because I used to throw temper tantrums in high school. I used to complain about why I'm getting no girls, why I don't have like really good friends that take me out to events and stuff like that. I used to complain all throughout that high school, and now literally Uncle Jay sees me, a grown ass man. Literally, I haven't whined and complained in over a year. Literally, I just got kicked out the group home because of bedbugs. My mom's let me stay with her again, and literally freaking back then it was a really good story because literally he saw me literally be calm, cool, collect for an entire right here, and I ask him if he wants to eat Reese's Pieces out of nowhere while I'm training for Family 2019. Oh my God, Lily, this is such a really good emotional story for me. So when I started, like, Lily, I started watching Mob Psycho 100, and they made Easter egg for my Uncle Jay, and like, Lily, you freaking, you know when Reagan tells Mob that, Lily, oh, they just want to laugh at you. I was laughing, I'm like, Lily, because that's what my uncle used to do with me when I used to like get played by people like Lily. I would go steal from people or I would try too hard to fit in. He's like, man, you don't want to get with them. They're just laughing at you. It's not, and that's really, really true. But there's more to that, like Lily. But they're laughing for the wrong reason. They're laughing because I'm an actual threat. But they're, you know, minimizing the, you know, quality of shit. You know, that's what gangsters do. So like, anyway, speaking, that's why I learned that over time. But Lily, that's a good life lesson if you want to make TV. So that's the difference between TV and real life. That life lesson, if you just take out that one part and you want to make a movie about that, yeah, you can make a movie about that. And that's what makes Uncle Jay phenomenal, because Lily, he understood that media was for third grade and down. So when you get into a complex situation, like a grown man situation that fan made, like Lily, the movie outcome doesn't exist. You get what I'm saying? Like Lily, when you get into complex situations in real life, it's not just, oh, who did this, who did that. Like they want to know, like Lily, what was the bomb of it? What was the cause of it? Instead of Lily, this extreme dramatic sequence like you see in movies. And Lily, that's the difference. That's how you can get over on people, by making a lesson and cutting out all the other evidence and shit like that. Like Lily, and you know what you can even do more when you get older? You can do a lesson that you never learned yourself, and you can say the exact same thing that your parents told you, but imagine if you're a professional with it. And because fucking gangsters do that shit all the time. It's like, Lily, oh, so you fear be like, this is not stealing the fucking morals that they got from their parents and shit. Imagine if you're trying to make media out of it. Imagine if you're trying to sell someone a dream out of it. My Uncle Jay could do that. Like Lily, that's what he used to do all the time. Like, imagine if you make scripts out of the fact you know the freaking that people are dumb and that media like has a lower standard than real life, and that media isn't complex as like, you know, things like danger. Real life is not as complex as like freaking, you know, wildlife. It's not really that complex at all. Like Lily, freaking it, like where it comes to play out, when it comes to anything, because it's meant for like Lily, a fucking life works like a roller coaster, up and down, twisty and all around. And movies work like this, up and down and climax. That's literally how movies work. That's why Lily, you freaking, and they all script like that. You see how Lily, all those twists and turns went in. And so Lily, I really felt so good. So when Mob Psycho 2 come out, I got a job at Safeway, and I was really tripping because Lily, I was getting Lily laid every single night. I was all crazy. You know that stupid corralling thing, like Lily, where you think that you're sharing shows with other people, like when ghosts start hurting you after you fuck bitches. Like Lily, I was dealing with all that and shit. Lily, I was dealing with fucking the craziest fucking anxiety at work. Like Lily, this not like I was ready, because I also have family approach. I'm really, oh my God, fucking, I hope I don't make the same mistake as last time, because I knew they were gonna try to peer pressure me and trying to grab a butt again. Lily, I was thinking about all that shit on Safeway and this and that, and then I come home and I look at fucking Terrell's fight and Mob Psycho 100, and everything was like just on Lily. After Lily, that Uncle that dollar store / real rider Uncle Jay, I literally just developed so much as a person. I fucking love that. Lily, there was this time where I even had the interview for Safeway, and she's like, oh well, like Lily, so tell me about your work ethics. Oh, you know, I'm really on point when it comes to this and that. I don't really play around. This Lily, this that. And I even hit her with the Izakuma Dory. Like, they told me to do something at a certain point, and I smashed. You know what I'm saying? I said that on the interview. Yes, Young Midoriya said that on the interview and got a job before. I'm telling you, I really, that's really how you can live your life through anime. Lily, it was the simplest thing to do. Like, oh, they told me to do something, and I smashed. They're like, Lily, that's Lily, I got the job I said for Lily. I was going through a whole bunch of anxiety, Lily. I was sweeping and mopping the floor, thinking about the next episode of Mob Psycho 100. Lily, it was something crazy. I come home and Mob's fucking house is burnt down. Oh my God, Lily, I have so much memories watching The Promised Neverland and Mob Psycho, Lily, coming home from work and watching those two animes. But Lily, I'm still dealing with the bullshit society. You get what I'm saying? Like, Lily, you know, I got roasted by my grandma saying that, oh, you're not going out in anime because I don't see you going to school for it. And then literally a few weeks later, I get a job at Safer. You see how life pans out? Like, Lily, that's literally what happens when there's a complex situation and stuff like that. Like, Lily, that is a freaking, you know, that's a movie motivational quote, but that's the difference between movies and real life. Movies are dramatic and exaggerated, where real life is like really concrete and understanding, you know. And that's really, and that comes with like delivery. That's how, like, Lily, how you treat people, how you respect people, like that comes with a whole bunch of other stuff. And then Lily, at the end of the season, like, Lily, what my uncle had to do is my uncle, like, Lily, had to protect the family secret, if you don't know about the Godfather or anything like that. So what he was doing is he was using reverse psychology, and that's where they tried to set me up for my older brother and stuff like that. That's where the Sams came in, because they realized that I was becoming polyamorous and I was going to be separated from the family if I was going to be intertwining my girlfriend. There's a difference between, like, Lily, having play dates and actually being serious to a point where me and, like, Carmen Crib going on planes and shit, so they're trying to stop that shit. So, like, Lily, what was going on is, like, Lily, so he tried to get yeah, this is like, oh, this girl playing sports, she loves me and this and that. I'm like, oh really? Well, does he even know you? Then Uncle Jay keeps silent and he turns to the left and he keeps a calm, cool swag like, oh, I have a backup plan. Like, really, I specifically want you to call me out because I'm gonna have you play yourself and then I'm gonna have people support my statement. Yeah, he did that right there and there, but I made the speech and stuff like that, and I came at him just like Mob. I'm like, you know what? You're just like Reagan from Mob Psycho 100, Uncle Jay. You fake a whole lot of stuff and you fought it off and you know you're in denial and stuff like that. I kept on saying it like that, and you know, Cena and freaking Kenny were stalking at the time, and he thought that it was a dramatic anime speech. But you know what the beautiful thing about Moving On is? Recently they went through a whole bunch of shit where they understood how to be cold, but literally watching literally people like Stone like literally be spoiled, literally freaking like watching arrogant people literally have something harm to them, but they still keep that stupid swagger demeanor. Except that she learned how to be cold and she learned how to really eat through all that shit literally with one fucking word and shit. Like literally, she understands how one-dimensional the streets are, and that's the reason why it's stupid, you know. And literally because they're not allowing themselves to have more opportunities to broaden more horizons and shit. So you know, at the time, she was looking back at that speech, and we all look back at it. That happens to all of us. And she's like, that speech was kind of corny because now she listens to actual rap. Now she knows how things like it hurt. But you know what's the good thing about it? Now that you're out of the hood and now that we don't have the pressure of gangsters anymore, we can take that emotional speech and say emotional speech instead of a gangster trying to add cringe or trying to like bend it, trying to say it's corny and stuff like that. Because really, that's how you make it in real life. You see, that is literally freaking when media is for third grade and under, done right with righteousness. Because that is fueling the future generation. That's the good part of media. We want our kids to be influenced in a positive way, not a negative way. You get what I'm saying? Like literally freaking that's a good way to influence somebody, you know. And a lot of writers do this that I realize today. Like some writers specifically write this for the show, like literally, I want somebody to realize this. I'm gonna make this a joke for the studio. I'm gonna make this sure the studio doesn't know what I'm intending, but I'm gonna make sure somebody who experiences the same thing in real life is going to get what that means. And that's how I understand that literally certain aspects of Wano, like in One Piece, come from prostitution because of the way that they advertise the girls in the kimonos. That's how I realized that. Do not think that was not Ichiro Oda's intention. Do not think Mob Psycho 100 is not gangster shit. Do not think Kishimoto does not literally fuck with Mario and have inspirations from streets. Like, do not think that Kishimoto wasn't inspired by the street life at all, because if you actually check the original stats for Naruto, he actually intended to be way more gangster. If you actually look at the original character designs for Naruto was supposed to be way more dank, but we have the wrong idea of what he was trying to portray. And like literally, and that is a good thing that I learned over time. But anyway, freaking, even though freaking that was a good memory of Uncle Jay, even though freaking, you know, we all know about that, we have to understand that that's a beautiful freaking story, because that journey with me and him and Mob Psycho 100, how he was a con artist, and like literally how I saw Reagan go through the freaking ups and downs of a con artist, but admit he was wrong and stuff like that. How I realized, because you know what was crazy? I made a few friends myself in real life and stuff like that that weren't laughing at me, but you know, he can always use the excuse that they are, especially the way I was treated in society. A whole bunch of people like Lily's, oh, you know, fucking those girls, they may fuck you in your sleep, but they don't respect you. They laugh at you in real life and you try to get serious. That's why you can't persuade Kenny with your words. You know how much that hurt me in real life and stuff like that. And literally, when you take the Lisa route, you can fake that shit is real. And that's why literally media is for third grade and under, because I understand those concepts. And you have to understand that Lily, you have to understand Lily, freaking, once I learned the difference between love and respect, they spam that, but really they don't respect each other, and fucking, because if they wouldn't be criticizing you. And I realized that Lily from a long way. And I love the Mob Psycho 100 journey I went on. That whole fucking season was a shit, and it let me know. And you know what, another thing happened? An old friend I had from Boy Scouts who's way younger than me, almost like 10, like freaking 6 or 7 years younger than me, freaking Alex, he drove me in a car and he told me that he was working at Domino's. And at the time, I didn't have a job. I think I had a job. Yeah, I did have a job at Safeway, yeah. But I had a job at Safeway, but I didn't have a car. Yeah, oh yeah, now I remember, yeah. So he drove me in a car, like Lily, and I tried talking to him, and so he was with all this gangster swag and stuff like that. Like, he was sounding way more gangster than me, even though I know it ain't shit. I'm like, oh, that's cool, like Lily. So he adapted to his high school and stuff like that. I'm like, I wasn't sounding like that when I was in high school. Thank God I'm a grown man, and that Lily is like Lily. He's fucking this and that, so Lily. But you know that even Alex was a dumb. So you know what Alex did? You know what Alex from Boy Scouts did, where he pulled me over? He's like, I understand why you don't have a car. Look at me, I'm white, I have the connections, and this all happened around the Mob Psycho period. And that's really, I have journeys through anime when I watch them, you know, really, through a week by week basis. Not all happened the exact same season around the same time. I got a ride from my old friend from Boy Scouts, and earlier I had a ride from Uncle Jay, and like freaking, you know, when we went to Riz, which is literally, that's why they have the famous Polish dog because my grandma, like, that's not for my grandma, but literally freaking, that's my grandma's favorite thing at Rio Central was the Polish dog, like, literally, and that's where literally freaking, they love the Chicago dog. They love the Chicago and Polish dog at Rio Central. That's a really good Easter egg, and that was a really good heartfelt moment that literally freaking, we all got to sit back and recognize, like, because that was back when I was really being a good kid, but after you gotta learn, like, you know, certain trends in the end, certain, like, habits in the end and stuff like that, so literally that speech isn't corny anymore, because now we know what actual real life is. Like, we know how people try to slander it, and that's the way that people try to imprison you in your mind, you know, it's really crazy. This is a really good story, because it reminded me, like, how I grew up, and, like, literally watched the and the whole thing when I was trying to watch that marathon, I was like, literally, man, I don't really get this and stuff like that. I had a whole lot of meaning where it came to people, and when people do reviews for anime, like, you know, the sociopathism in My Psycho 100, like, when people blame the world for their problems, this and that, and literally this and that, literally, they try to pull this in the time, like, you see, Ernest, you blame the whole world for your problems. That's why you didn't go to college, and that's why you see all the differences and like this and that. And then once I woke up and I realized that the truth was literally set in the pudding, and that literally freaking, that they marked me out very first thing, and once I realized that in the future, like, literally, it made me feel so much better, because literally, they tried to trap me in their whole fucking strict ways of, oh, you thought you went hard, but you didn't work hard enough. That's not what they said at FanMade 2019, but yeah, that's why exactly I was there the exact same year, the exact same convention center with Crunchyroll, okay? And I learned all that through time, like, literally, that was the part of my writing process of, like, being a grown man. I didn't like Mob Psycho 100 at first, and literally, the whole Be Mature scheme, oh, like, freaking, and I saw the ending, like, literally, how they have paper mache cutouts, like, South fucking shit, and I'm like, you know, this is why anime is, like, for kids who are 13. And I knew right then and there, after watching Black Clover, watching the ending, watching the credits, you know how the Chibi's talking shit, literally, after that, I realized that anime was for kids, and that it will always be for kids. That is why it's called shonen. And literally, when I watched that and I realized that and I thought about that, like, I feel like I'm in junior high right now and stuff like that. And when I thought about that and that all tied in together, and like, literally, I realized what the big piece was. And then later I think about literally all the times really freaking where I thought I was being immature, but really they were closing my perspective, they were closing my horizon specifically to act like that, and they didn't want me to do that. So I'm gonna give you an Easter egg. What they want me to do is they want me to imitate Justin to the point where I got kicked out of the school. They want me to pretend to be a gang member. They want me to pretend to make jokes, like, literally, to continue being jealous of the way that they format their sentences, to continue being jealous to the point where I got kicked out of school. No, what I wanted the same connection as them, and that's what made the rivalry between me and popular people so fucking strong, was the fact that I knew I wasn't getting paid for the buck, and they told me to literally, oh, this is not the way you do it. Well, this is the way you do it, because if you were there in your position, you would have got tons of appraisal. Like, literally, if I did something literally out of nowhere, like, I called somebody a Deusosaurus Rex in high school, and they said, that's gay. And when I heard them pause, I realized they knew that was clever. They knew that if they would have said it, they would have got away with it, and they tried to keep me in the same position, and that's really this and that. It's like, no, they want me to actually, like, and then they're gonna try to support me probably this and that. Like, once I go all out and being bad, then they'll support me in this and that. In reality, they know that literally they're getting more bang for the buck, you know, and that is literally what I figured out about it. Like, literally, that is literally one of the greatest fucking rivalries between me and fucking, you know, junior high school kids, you know. Do you want a cameo from me and Reed, since we're talking about Boy Scouts? I had so much game in junior high and shit like that. And, you know, I looked at fucking, you know, Jaylene where her cleavage was out. I'm like, hey, Reed, because Reed was fucking, you know, visiting for a certain day because freaking Max got kicked out and shit. And so literally fucking, so Reed went in, and so Reed's all like, hey, what's up, Harris? And stuff like that. Yeah, I know this guy from Boy Scouts. Right now I'm in a band and stuff like that. And so and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, you know Jaylene? Yeah, she's my fuck buddy. And like, and Jaylene's fucking side, she looks at me and she's like, did you just really disrespect me like Lee? She's like, yeah, you know Jayleen, she's my fuck buddy. Like, Lily, you know this guy, she's my fuck buddy. You're like, Lily, and they all start laughing at. She's like, oh, I'm just trying to tell you, she's my fuck buddy and stuff like that. So Lily, I'm talking about Jayleen and stuff like that, where her big ass teeth, like, Arena's fucking dying, keeping this side. No, we're not being immature and shit. And Lily, this is what they mean by being mature in junior high. Lily, that's some bad shit. But you know what's the downside of that? Even though I got away with it, that is 100% self-loathing. That's me jerking myself up. You know why Jaylene didn't agree? You know why Jaylene didn't disagree with that? You know why Jaylene didn't say anything and let me play myself? Is because she tried to get with me and they cock-blocked me from her. And even though all that perspective remains, I was still in my own little world, to the point where that shit didn't even matter anymore because I was in my own world. That sounds like me jacking off, huh? Like that sounds like some shit you do when you're watching porn. Oh, this is my fuck buddy, like Lily. Lily, that sounds like some shit you get by watching porn, right, Lily? I'm so like in my own little head, like yeah, it's so much reliability. And that's why we're all a part of God. That's what they mean by we're all a part of God. Like Lily, we're all feeling the same thing, but that doesn't mean you have to go overboard and masturbate and shit like that. And that's the meaning behind that. Like Lily, you see how that was completely funny and how you were completely caught off guard by it? But the meaning of it is I disrespected the fuck out of her. I tried to be too hard in front of my friends. Like Lily, I haven't seen Reed in years, and all of a sudden I'm acting too hard by Lily in front of Reed. Like Lily, I'm disrespecting Reed instead of taking it casual, instead of respecting his cameo. I'm not gonna get him again, and I wasted calling Jaylene fuck by taking advantage of the fact that she likes me, Lily, in front of Reed. That's not cool at all. You see all those angles and the reality of the situation. Plus I'm self-loathing. Like Lily, plus I'm saying something that Lily you would say when you're jacking off, but I get away with it because it's relatable. No, we can't like jack off together. We can't be relatable to each other to a point where it's jacking off. And what I mean by that is that Lily, you did something that was completely comfortable with no self-restraint. I said that with no self-restraint, and that was not cool for Jaylene, and that made Jaylene look totally bad. You gotta understand that. You gotta look out for everybody in that situation. I didn't think about anything. Oh, I'm not gonna think about Jaylene at all. Like Lily, you know, and I'm just gonna like Lily, and I'm not gonna learn anything at all. Like Lily, freaking. That's not cool, man. Lamaya corrected me too. Like, Lily, I was pretending to be Michael Jackson in PE when people said I couldn't dance and shit. I'm like, oh, Tito. And then fucking the guy I was taking that with like looks away, he walks away. And then Lamaya's like, he's not even looking at you. But guess what happened? When I let go of those childish habits, guess what happened to me and Lamaya? And that is the story behind me, Uncle Jay, and Mob Psycho 100.